Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I also would like to welcome Leah. Hello, Leah. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Um,
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. Leah and I were preparing just about 5, 10 minutes ago, and I was saying I'm so looking forward to it today, which is a very new feeling for me. Meaning that I've always been a little hesitant to go live because you put yourself on the line, you just basically cannot delete what you say and what you do. But I think that that kind of raw honesty of these Facebook lives are actually something that I really enjoy because um, we can give the gift to each other to be direct and honest, and it's really fun. So today there are two topics, as you may have learned from the little slide that we posted just before we started, is wound healing. And the second one is how to overcome crisis and build a good life. And that's obviously a topic that we all need and will or benefit. And the reason why I put this topic on, because I ask myself that question often, depending on what we are dealing with. Challenges in life, in work, in personal life, it all happens. So why don't we just start with wound healing and then we'll get on to building good life. How's it? How does it sound? Leah, how does it sound?
Sounds good to me.
Anyway, I've got a little tray here. And believe it or not, this is my wound healing kit. Um, the reason why I decided to have a little preview of wound healing is that we have a couple of friends from the Czech Republic here. They've been stuck here because they don't have any flights back to their home country. And so we've been cooking and they've been really great helping us and helping us to paint and do different things. So it's been absolutely lovely. Just about 2 days ago, Pavel, the husband of the couple, um, cut himself in the kitchen. And I see him immediately doing what most people do, and that is to pour hydrogen peroxide on the wound and then put polysporin on top of it and then put a band-aid or a bandage and then put a rubber glove on it so it doesn't breathe at all. And those are situations where I kind of struggle with not saying anything because I know that that is not the best way to approach wounds. But I also know that most people, there's a mosquito here. I also know most people really do what he did, pouring hydrogen peroxide or alcohol and then putting polysporin on and then putting a bandage on, and that's it. And it's not only that most lay people do this. I also see many doctors treating wounds in this kind of way. And sometimes I hear people sharing that their surgeon said that they should not change their bandage for 1 to 2 weeks after surgery. And it just slows down wound healing. So I've had tons of experience with wound healing, starting with horses when I worked with horses in an equine center in the Czech Republic. Then I came to Canada, obviously spent 30 years in practice, as well as working with mixed animals, horses, where the wounds and lacerations were huge. Like there wouldn't be like a small little wounds. There'd be wounds of the size of a dinner plate because a horse ran into barbed wire fence or a pole or something. They were nasty. And what really blew me away was that when you take a simple approach to healing and do not necessarily use antibiotics and chemicals that kill bacteria, but also kill the cells that are supposed to heal the skin, the wounds heal miraculously better. I now have to remember my late brother-in-law who went through about 3 or 4 brain surgeries before he died, and he always carried my Herbal skin spray to surgery with him. And the surgeon, after a week, usually he would go for a recheck, and the surgeon was always really surprised how well the wounds heal. And so then I had a dilemma. Do I share it with my community or not? What do I do? So I've become really passionate about wound healing because it is so simple and it is not what we think it is. I spent many, many years doing what most people do with wounds, meaning pouring the hydrogen peroxide or maybe some iodine or some other disinfectant solutions like Hibitane. But after a while, I saw that the healing doesn't really happen as readily and well. I had one situation where when I worked in Whistler, BC, the ski resort, where the wife of a very well-known skier, Canadian skier, came to my practice, and her dog needed to be neutered. So we neutered the dog, and then she left home with the Hibitane soap to clean the wound. And a week later, she came back, and I removed the stitches, or 10 days later, I removed the stitches, and the wound just did, and it opened up like there was no healing at all. So I inquired about what happened, and she basically mistook our instructions and poured the Hibitane soap on the wound undiluted. So it was an exaggerated situation of it made me think, would the chemicals that are supposed to kill bacteria also kill the cells that are supposed to hold their hands and close the wound, right? In quotes, hold the hands, because there are obviously certain parts of the cells that kind of hold together and make the wound contract and heal. So that was the start. And then I started my search for better wound healing and started doing reading, and also went back to my experience with horses and discovered that the best way to heal wounds is actually to, number one, rinse them, but not with hydrogen peroxide that destroys the bacteria, but also destroys the cells, or alcohol that also destroys the skin cells. So I had to instruct my friend 2 days ago that unfortunately hydrogen peroxide was not the greatest idea for healing wounds, nor is alcohol, and nor is polysporin. Because polysporin is nothing else than petroleum product. It's a petroleum jelly with some antibiotics. And what it does, actually, it may kill some bacteria, but it doesn't kill all of them. And we are actually really creating a good environment for growing superbugs. And we know that flesh-eating disease and other superbug bacteria are serious, serious problem. And it also is a result of overuse of antibiotics. So today I'd like to show you my little healing kit. I was thinking, what am I going to wound today to actually get the right wound? And I came up with avocado because it was actually quite hard and it's not ready to eat. And so I made a little scrape on it. And usually wounds come with a lot of mess and some blood and some dirt. So I decided to put a little bit of ketchup on it. Let me just see. Oh, I don't want the ketchup to be everywhere. So, this is a pretty good wound. What do you think? I'm going to show you. It's just ketchup. Don't worry. Don't faint on me here. So now we've got this. And, normally what I would do, I would actually take this avocado or whatever part of the body it is. I would, never mind. I would just put it under running water. Okay, you can have saline at home, and if you have saline and a syringe, you can flash it with saline. Amazing. But if you don't have running water, and I don't right now, I don't want to create flood. You take basically bowl of water, fresh water, clean water. It can be boiled if you want to sterilize it, but even chlorinated water is fine. And you actually rinse the wound. And you rinse it to the point where there's nothing else than just really clean tissue. And it may be a little disgusting, it may hurt a little bit, but it does not hurt as much as alcohol or peroxide applied on the wound. And if there is a dry scab, and this is actually misperception, if there is a dry scab, you can also have to soak it gently. Put the piece of gauze on top of the wound and let it soak, okay? Let it soak, and then just kind of rub it very gently until there's nothing else than the skin and the wound. And the reason why I suggest to clean the skin completely and not leaving scabs is that sometimes, and you probably noticed that when scabs are formed, they actually almost prevent the skin from closing up, right? They protect it. They protect the skin or the wound to a certain degree. But then when the scab gets thick and really, crusty, it actually prevents the skin from healing and closing together. So what happens, it actually becomes almost like a secondary wound. You have the original wound and the scab, and then it kind of tries to heal, but the scab prevents it from healing. And this is one of the almost like contradictions that I myself notice, that I actually say whenever unsure, go back to nature. Go back to nature about healing. Go back to nature about treating conditions. But this is one of the situations where I find that the scab actually occludes healing, and it doesn't. It prevents it from happening faster. And when you clean the wound, after you clean it, and then you dry it with a piece of gauze, and then you have a few options. You put skin spray right on top of it, which is a herbal formula. It's a memory to my grandfather because he taught me how to use herbs and always helped me to understand them better. I used to spend my summer holidays in his apartment, and we used to go up the roof and dry herbs and collect herbs in the surrounding nature and forest. It was really cool. But he taught me how to use herbs, and skin spray is basically a result of that. It does have calendula, hydrostis, which is golden seal, witch hazel, and I forgot the fourth ingredient. Isn't it funny? I'm getting old. Calendula, hydrostis, witch hazel, which is constringent, and yucca. Um, anyway, all those are really great healing herbs, and you can do more research afterwards on our website or on your website, whatever you choose. So I dry it after I wash it, then I spray skin spray, and then you have two choices. If the wound is really large, you can actually apply the skin spray right on a piece of gauze. It doesn't need to be sterile, actually. Believe it or not, it does not need to be sterile. You can use sterile gauze, but it does not need to be sterile because the wound is not sterile to start with, right? And then you apply it to the wound. And then ideally, and this is something really, really cool. I haven't seen it as much in human medicine as veterinary medicine. It's called VetWrap by 3M. And you basically just put a really light bandage around it. Don't constrict the body part too much because it can, you don't want to restrict blood circulation. But this is what you do. I don't even put a whole thick bandage on it, right? Like you can cover the margins of the wound or the gauze here. But if you just attach it and then spray more skin spray on and change the bandage once a day, remove it, rinse the wound again, remove all the scabs and all the impurities and blood and whatever is there, and do the same thing again. And during the day, you can also just kind of make the gauze and the bandage moist. Now, if you have a let's say cut on your finger, it's super easy to actually do one thing. Get Band-Aids that are cloth, because the plastic ones sometimes are impenetrable and they will not allow skin spray to go through. So I would do the same thing. I would wash my finger, I would put it under running water, make sure that I clean all the impurities, and then I put a Band-Aid on the finger after I dry it. I don't put any skin spray on yet until I have the Band-Aid secure. And what I do then, I spray skin spray again on the Band-Aid. And because it's cloth, it actually soaks through. And I soak the skin spray through the bandage several times a day. You will notice one thing, that when you cut yourself, obviously it's painful. And as soon as you put skin spray on, the pain and the kind of throbbing will actually reduce, because the skin spray is astringent, it is calendula and hydrostis, it supports the body's own healing and also activates its own defenses. As I said, if you use alcohol or iodine or chlorhexidine, you will actually not only kill the bacteria, bacteria, but you will also kill the weak bacteria. You will not kill superbugs, but you will also kill the skin cells that heal. And you will also kill the white blood cells that are actually supposed to protect the wound. So this is a little different logic behind wound healing. And the reason why I'm so excited about it and passionate, I know that it works. And I'm so confident that I'm willing to give it to my brother-in-law when he goes for brain surgery and has his head split. Like that's the first thing that he would use right after surgery. So that's all about wound healing. Do you have any questions before we go on to building a happy and good life? Leah, are there any questions?
We don't have any questions coming in quite yet. Let me just scroll. We've got lots of hellos, people who have been tuning in to our weekly lives.
That's okay. If there are no questions now, maybe there will be questions about wound healing later. And there's also blog and articles and a little video where I actually don't heal an avocado, but a banana. So you can actually watch that video too. It's quite funny. And now on to building good life. For quite a few years before, after things started going well and I basically restructured my life, people have been telling me, and even on Facebook and Instagram and social media, they said, I would love to have your life. And I was never really sure how to reply because it made me feel uneasy. I was almost embarrassed for actually having a good life and having work that I love. And even though I go through challenges and at work or in my personal life, I am very grateful. I have good life. But now when people say, I would like to have your life, or Pax is such a lucky dog, I said, you can have my life. I see you can have my life, but you have to start it in a very polluted coal mine area of the Czech Republic behind the Iron Curtain. I will show you actually a picture what I mean. And this is a real picture where I came from. Let me just open it and share screen with you just for a moment. Here it is. This power plant is on the verge of a coal mine about 7 kilometers or 5 miles away from where I used to live. And
you try starting resharing your screen? It's just coming up black at the moment.
Oh, it's coming black because it is black. Maybe. Let me just see. Not sure why. Let me just reshare again. I'm keeping you in suspense here. Okay, let's see. Maybe this will work now.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, so this power plant is actually about 5 miles to 7 kilometers away where I used to live. And as a child, I used to wake up and the air smelled like rotten cheese because there was a high sulfur content in the coal. And my sister and I often suffered with bronchitis and respiratory problems. And they had to take basically our school away to nature for us to recover and be able to be somewhat healthy. So this is where my life, where the good life started. And the reason why I'm saying that is that between that moment where I lived, when I was waking up in my hometown, 5 miles away from this power plant, and this moment, the present, where I have a really good life and can travel between my family in Czech and Vancouver and Maui, there's a whole set of decisions that I had to make. And I personally do not think that I was somehow smart or made the decision with conscious mind. Some of the times, I actually was really, really stubborn and very determined that I didn't want to continue waking up in that kind of life. The stubbornness came from a seemingly very negative experience. My father was a very good man. He was also a veterinarian, but he had his demons and challenges. And when I was about 2 years old, I sealed my fate with him because my sister was scolded, or he spanked my sister, which was allowed then. And I apparently, my mother said, stood up in my high chair at the table, and I yelled at my father, "You're an animal, we'll lock you in the cage." And no father or no parent likes to be called an animal that needs to be locked in the cage. So for some reason, I've been born with this exaggerated sense of empathy, which sometimes serves me, but that time it didn't really serve me. So, I had real clashes with my father. He sometimes physically abused me and spanked me, and it wasn't pretty. But I think that was probably one of the main moments why I was so stubborn. I just basically decided to show him that I'm worth his love. And so when I decided that I wanted to go to vet school, and he told me, "Well, but if you go to vet school, we won't have enough resources for your sister to get in." And it was really hurtful, but at the same time, I really decided, I'm going to show you, I'm going to live your life. And so for some time, that kind of stubbornness served me to overcome some of the obstacles. I didn't get to vet school the first time around. I was declined admission, and I got in I worked in a lab at the vet school for a year, and got in by basically being at the veterinary school and working as an attendant, experiencing really negative stuff. I worked in a lab where we had to basically inject mice with blend up organs of birds and other animals. And I remember that it was super traumatic because we not only injected these mice with these blended organs of animals that could have lived good life in nature, and we caught them for research, but we also had to kill these mice at the end of the experiments. And I don't want to even be too graphic to describe what we had to go through. And I had to constantly decide between, am I just going to quit because this is absolutely horrible, or am I going to go through this because it's going to be happening no matter whether I do it or not, and then I'll be able to help and maybe create a change. So I went through that. I went through vet school, and then I got married and decided to immigrate to Canada. In the meantime, the Iron Curtain fell, and we could not really escape and be refugees. So we had to apply for immigration. And when we applied to the Canadian government for immigration visa, they sent us a polite letter saying, "Sorry, but you're not what we're looking for, and we are denying your admission." So instead of taking no for an answer, we tried again. And I changed my job description from a veterinarian to a veterinary attendant. And suddenly the very wealthy, welcoming country welcomed us because I was a low-paid workforce that was needed. I was not the one who was taking jobs away from the professionals, right? So we got in, and I started working as in veterinary clinic. My experiences were kind of mixed because my boss was physically abusive with the animals again. So that was very difficult to watch. Eventually, the team of the hospital, we all reported him to the college. And we knew that he was a good person, but he had obviously emotional issues and challenges. Then I had to go through the national boards for veterinarians. My English wasn't good enough, so I couldn't read the questions fast enough, and I didn't pass the first time around. And then I started working after I passed my exams, and it was a real win. And I had to go through make emergencies at night, middle of the night. I would get up 3 times to an emergency, and I would have to work the next day again in the clinic for appointments. It was super hard. And I don't even know how I overcame all that. I think that the stubbornness to kind of show my father was initially the driving force. But then I started learning about holistic healing and medicine, and I really fell in love with it. And I realized that it was no longer the stubbornness and showing my father, because I showed him that I can do well in life. I just really wanted to learn more about how to heal and how to help heal and how not to cause side effects and problems with medicine. So I opened my own clinic, and I worked in the clinic for 10 years, and it got really busy and got crazy busy. And I started burning out because I didn't have the heart to say no to people who needed my help. And there were not enough holistic vets around. I also decided not to sell pet food, kibble, and I have reduced the use of drugs down to about 10-15% from before in my conventional practice. So it was really, really hard to make a living suddenly because I wasn't selling kibble and I wasn't selling drugs. I knew that I needed to change, and I didn't know how. So I started going to a meditation group, and in the meditation group, it was guided meditation. I closed my eyes, and I suddenly happened to be in a black box. And I was trying to get out of the black box. I was prying the walls open, and they didn't fall. And I was just trying so hard. And suddenly they crashed. But the struggle wasn't over because the box was sitting on top of waterfall, and I realized I was on the top of the waterfall and there was no way out other than jumping. So in that meditation, I was watching myself standing there, being scared shitless, afraid to jump. And I don't really know whether it was hours or days or years I was standing there. But suddenly I kind of feel this pull, and I start moving and falling. And I remember landing in this beautiful, amazing crystal pool of water. And I started swimming and thinking, wow, this is what I was afraid of? This is absolutely crazy. And then suddenly there was a hand coming from the skies, and it tried to pull me back in the box. And I flailed and flailed, like if my life depended on it. And I snuck out. And it was the end of the meditation. But it wasn't the end of my transition, how to build a good life. It was just the midway. I was burned out, and I knew that I needed to go away. So I went to Maui, and I grabbed some books with me. And the first book was Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. Really cool book if you wanted to read it. It's about how to forgive others. And I spent a week in Maui, and I was really enchanted by the island. It's not hard to be enchanted by Maui, but it always challenges you. It's a peaceful paradise with volcanic qualities, so it always makes your wounds fester. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to bring my partner and Pax back here. And so, sorry, Sky, then here. I always mistake those two names. And so we did, and we had a great time, and Sky had a great time. And on the way back, I was going through pictures, and I found a picture from a waterfall. And when I looked at the picture, I realized that that was the waterfall. That was the place where I was locked in the black box and where I dared to jump. And I looked at my partner and said, I need to sell my clinic. I don't want to stop working and helping people, but I know that if I help 20 or 50 people, I still will not be able to help as many as if I sell my clinic and start teaching how to prevent disease, how to create health, how to feed natural diet, how to heal wounds. And so I did. And my advisor then said, well, let's make a 5-year exit plan. And I said, you know what? There's no 5-year exit plan. I'm going to visit my mom in the summer, and I have to have the clinic sold in 3 or 4 months. And she looked at me, I lost my mind. And then it happened. I collected points for our flights to Europe. And I surprised my partner with a first-class flight for points. And at the time we were in the air flying towards Europe, the contract of sale of my clinic became valid and the clinic ceased to be mine. It was super great, but I also knew that the time ahead would be really, really hard because I had to start making living differently. I created a house school practice thinking that I will still help my clients, some of the clients that I was able to keep, and then creating an online company, petertobias.com. And for the for 6 years, we made no money, almost no money except the house school practice. And by the time I was turning 50 in 2014, I had no money left in the bank account. And we made a switch to a different website card for selling our products. And we lost all the traffic because the switch didn't go well. And the website that we switched to was Shopify. And Shopify is a $1 billion plus worth company, Canadian company that actually serves many, many shopping carts around the world now. And I was celebrating my 50th. And I remember sitting over my computer, seeing no income, no traffic, and no money at the bank. And I had no idea what to do. I was in panic. I was scared. I was not willing to give up my dream, but I also didn't know what to do. And then I thought, who is the CEO of Shopify? Because we were asking them to fix the problem and they were not fixing it for 2 weeks. And then I found out that it was Tobias Lütke, a German guy who ran this Canadian company. And I don't normally tweet, as you know, because I just don't have time for Twitter and I just don't tweet. But I found Tobias Lütke, whose tag or handle is @Tobi, T-O-B-I. And I sent him a direct message saying, this is what's happening. I worked 6 years for getting this company off the ground. I am now finally able to give people free advice. Anyone who wants to, we are able to bring the income through the products, and our shopping cart is not working and we lost all the traffic and I have no money and I don't know what to do. And if you don't help me, we're gonna go under. And guess what? Toby got the message. The CEO of a $1 billion company got the message. And if I didn't really tweet, I would not be able to sit here with you. I would probably be burned out. Who knows what would happen? So the reason why I'm saying that is that the number one lesson that I learned is that we should never take no for an answer, because if we take no for an answer, we may wake up every day in the life that we don't want. But I also know that there are two different kinds of us or groups of people, and even there are two polarities within our own self. And the one is the one that feels like giving up or is scared not to give up, is scared of the unknown, is scared to ask. And the other one is daring and gutsy and sometimes asks for help. You know, recently I've had a few people in my life who have come to me to help them. One person wanted to buy a truck for business. The other person wanted to replace the currently absent job because of the crisis with something else. And the third person that I see from time to time keeps hinting that other people has helped her with funds and money, and I have such an urge to actually help them and go and give them some money. But I also know that that would not really help them in the long run, that sometimes the money, the funds are needed to, it's like an IV fluid, right? Like if we are dehydrated or if our dogs are dehydrated, we use IV fluids to replace the fluids. But if we don't give them a bowl of water, if we don't teach them how to find the bowl of water, they keep getting dehydrated. That's the same with help. If we keep giving people, friends, children, what they want without them really trying harder to find their own solution, it will actually not be as helpful as if we teach them how to find water. It's better not to give people fish in most instances, but teach them how to fish. Teach them how to fish, not giving them fish. You know, sometimes you may see an imminent disaster happening. You are walking with a friend on the street. They have a dog on the leash. And suddenly you see the dog actually slowly stepping off the sidewalk in the path of a car that is oncoming. And you have a choice of pulling the friend back and saving the dog or doing nothing. And if you pull your friend back and try to save the dog, the friend may still say, it's not your business, it's my dog, right? It's not your business, it's my problem. Sometimes we see people making mistakes, and because we made them before, we see actually what is likely to happen, and they're gonna get hurt or even killed, or a disease happens. So you have to try to pull them back, but there's no guarantee that they will let you pull them back. And it doesn't need to be their dog on the leash. It can be a life situation of any kind. And sometimes it feels like that you're trying to help and people just tell you to mind your own business. It sometimes happens when I strike a conversation with a person that has a choke chain and prong collar on their dog, because I know that their dog most likely will suffer the consequences of that. You can read that article on thyroid gland and neck injuries from collars. But it is still worth trying to help people. And sometimes you really have to be there and pull them back. But it is more likely that you will need to teach them how to fish as opposed to giving them fish. We have to be careful not to give people fish for too long. You know, I know that there's in medicine, there's that kind of dynamic where a patient comes to the doctor and the doctor says, the patient says, doctor, I have a problem. Can you help me fix it? I've seen that all the time, especially from guys who come to the practice and say, my dog has rash. I want you to fix it. When I start telling them that the rash may be from digestive tract imbalances or sore spine, or even a muscle sprain, which is unusual, I know, for some people to hear, but it is a very common cause. They say, oh, I don't think that's what it is. And they know their answer, right? So you have to help them. You have to try to help them, but sometimes you may not be able to help them. And the surrender and the feeling that it's okay, that you've done your best, has to be there. It's sometimes hard to watch them, but it has to be there. And sometimes a little bit of tough love is actually what needs to happen. This morning, I went to the Twitter account of Tobias Lütke, Shopify CEO. And he tweet it, something that I want to share with you. I'm going to share the screen again. Maybe it's not from today. I think it is from today, 4 hours ago. He says, as of today, Shopify is a digital by default company. We will keep our offices closed until 2020 so that we can rework them for this new reality. And after that, most will permanently work remotely. Office centricity is over. What I was actually really stricken by, is that the right word, stricken? Is that the right tense? Leah?
What you were struck by?
Struck by. Thank you. I knew that there was a problem. What I was struck by was that this was a good example of him just kind of adjusting to the new conditions. If someone works in a restaurant and there will be fewer restaurants down the road because of COVID and in the environment that we work in, this is a prime example to go with our passion and see how we would like to build our good life. Have an idea, make a plan, watch your sabotage and your thoughts, because we all self-sabotage ourselves. But then stubbornly follow your dream. Read books, learn from people you love, listen to podcasts and videos, whatever you find to build the life that you want to have. It is not easy. And you know, the worst person to deal with on the course of good life is actually us, is you and I. We are our own worst enemies because we doubt ourselves. We listen to our inner talk that we are not good enough, that we can do this and that, or we can't be on video, that we are not good performers. Whatever it is, just don't believe it, because that's the secret. And be stubborn. And instead of us whining that we were physically abused when we were children, or that this happened and that happened, use it as a vehicle to become a better person, and use it as a vehicle to be the best of you and create good life. At the end of this, I want to show you one more picture. And it is the picture that I talked about a picture of my dog Sky and the waterfall, because that picture reminds me that deep inside, we actually know what the right journey is and what the right path is. We just must listen to the inner voice that actually is the all-knowing, the knowing what we need to do, what the next step is. And for me, it was the meditation. For me, it was the picture that I saw on the way back to Vancouver, seeing me and Sky, or Sky and I, that's better said, being happy. And that's what inspired me to the life that I created. So whenever people tell me, I would like to have the life you have, I would like to have Pax's life, it's a really harsh reality to know that we are our own creators, but that we also have to be compassionate to ourselves. And it's not that I don't struggle. I sometimes struggle with losing friends or a relationship. We sometimes have discussions and conversations at work that are not the most pleasant. But at the end, if we are true to what we believe in and are really honest, not only with others, but ourselves, I think that we can create good life. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, please let me know about wound healing or wound healing a good life.
We do have a couple questions that came in right when you were finishing up that wound healing section. Veronica is asking, my kitten just got neutered yesterday. Would it be advisable to put skin spray on this kind of wound?
You know, I'm a dog now. I call myself a dog specialist, meaning that I haven't worked with cats for some time. But cats have one really great ability, and that is to heal without anything. They really heal. Like we used to joke in the practice that you put, if a cat gets injured really badly, you put all the pieces of a cat in the cage and they heal. It's a funny joke, but anyway, cats do heal. I think that you probably will not need skin spray to be sprayed on the wound, and your male cat will heal, but it will speed it up, and I'm sure it will decrease the swelling and the discomfort and the kind of throbbing in the area that nobody wants to have throbbing in. That's all.
All right, the next question, is the skin spray something that could be used internally? Like if I were to bite on the inside of my mouth?
You can use it on the mouth because it's got only herbs and a little bit of alcohol that is mainly evaporated, so it doesn't burn, and also some saline. So it is actually it is safe to use on the gum. Absolutely.
Now, Susan asked a question that Veronica then answered, but I think it's good to bring up. Susan had asked, can humans use the skin spray also?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the funny part. Whenever I start thinking of a new product and researching new product and the formula and all that stuff, first I try it on me, then I try it on my human family, and then I try it on dogs. So we kind of joke sometimes that all our products are tested on humans. And I'm actually I'm just testing a new components to our senior dog supplement and mobility supplement as well. It's actually going really well. I'm really impressed. I'm really happy. But going back to skin spray, yes, we can use it on humans, elephants, monkeys, pigeons, dogs, cats, turtles, anything. Baxi, come on. Pax just run by. Come on, do you want to? He's too busy chasing butterflies. He just peeked his head in and just went off again. So we won't see Pax today.
No worries. The next question, would you consider making skin spray with organic ingredients?
It would be really nice. And it's a good suggestion and proposal. Whenever we can, we actually do make our products with organic ingredients. Currently, we have half of the ingredients in Green are organic. Soul Food and Gut Sense multivitamin and probiotics are all organic. Liver Tune, the detox, is also all organic, USDA certified, all of them. But some of the products it's difficult to make organic. So just to let you know that that it is sometimes difficult to do. We can go back to our formula, and maybe I can give it to one of our team members as a task to see whether we can now source the ingredients, the herbs, as organic. It is not as easy said as done. And also because we don't use any ingredients from China, knowing the history of ingredients that are tainted and adulterated, it is very difficult to actually source organic. And Chinese organic, in my mind, sometimes is very unlikely organic. So I don't even go there. And it is not that I have anything about the Chinese culture or my Chinese friend. I have many. It's about the ethical background of business in China. I remember that because I lived behind the Iron Curtain, and cheating was basically one way of surviving, right? And if they continue to do that, I don't really want to have anything to do with that. That's all.
The last question that's come in is from Sean. He's asking, my skin spray expired in 2019. Can I still use it?
The official answer is no, because we put expiry dates on because that's what we feel is actually the right time to replace it. It's unlikely that skin spray would grow any bacteria or fungus in, but the herbs have a certain, when they sit in the bottle for too long, they will not be as effective, which I think everyone understands, especially when there is oxygen in the bottle and the solution is in contact with air and oxygen.
And that is it for questions that we've had come in.
Thank you so much, Leah, for helping me and
No
being
problem.
here. And that's it for today. We'll be back next week. I'm thinking about doing a little bit of health related topic and again, a little bit of what I call ranting on life and how to create good life. Take care and give your dog a hug for me. Bye bye.